Winter changes everything. The waterfalls, the light, the atmosphere. What's familiar in the summer becomes completely new, and for photographers, that changes everything. That's exactly why I'm here. This trip is all about capturing the beauty of Oregon's waterfall in the dead of winter. When the cold adds something special to every composition, ice forms delicate patterns around the falls, mist rise in the morning, and the usual crowds are non-existent. I'll be photographing Oregon's most iconic waterfall, searching for new angles, and sharing my approach in shooting in the winter conditions. Camping out in the winter is different. It's colder, quieter, and forces you to slow down. The gear matters, fire matters, and most of all, the company matters. Before I head down to Oregon, I'm making a stop meeting up with some friends for the night of winter camping. These trips aren't just about the destination, they're about the moments in between, the kind that you don't plan but always end up remembering.
Minsan maganda din kasi malapit sa rin. Binigyan ko lang ba? Up down na lang ko ikaw.
Last night was a solid one with good company and good laughs, and somehow no one froze to death. But this is where we split off. The guys are headed back home, and I'm taking the long way down to Oregon. But before we go, we had to make a quick stop, and when you see a good shot, you have to take it. The light was hitting just right, the kind of scene you don't want to walk away from without at least a few frames. One last shot, one last moment, then we hit the road. They're headed back, and I'm out chasing waterfalls. Multnomah Falls is one of the most photographed waterfalls in the Pacific Northwest, and for a good reason. At 620 feet, it's Oregon's tallest waterfall, dropping in two dramatic tiers before flowing into the Columbia River. But what makes this place even more special is how it transforms with the season, especially in winter. This bridge, built in 1914, has become just as iconic as the falls themselves. Standing here gives you a perspective that's hard to capture anywhere else. Right in the heart of the falls, where the water crashes down from above and disappears below. In winter, this place takes on a different character. The crowd thins out, ice creeps across the cliffs, and if the temperature drops low enough, the falls begin to freeze. That's exactly what I'm here to capture. Photographing waterfalls is about timing and the right conditions, and sometimes being patient enough to let the scene reveal itself. When it all comes together, you get an image that captures more than just a place. You capture a moment in time. I may have to reverse in, which is totally fine, but I went to go check it out and there's not a whole lot of room to work with just because the snow is packed so deep. I'm going up and down this road. I was supposed to camp out near Trillium Lake, but Trillium Lake is closed, as it probably should be. It was snowing quite a bit last night, and it was slick, so I get why it's closed. But anyways, if I can't find another camp spot, I'm just gonna reverse in. I'm gonna explore around this area a little bit and see what I can find. I drove around the block a little bit and I really can't find another one. I found one, but the site is quite large and I'm soloing out, so I kind of want to save that spot for somebody with a bigger group. I don't want to take all that real estate if I don't need to. Believe I'm just gonna reverse into this spot, and then this will be camp for the night. Probably gonna be camp for tonight. Well, not probably, this is gonna be camp for tonight because it's starting to get a little late. It's a pretty cool spot. I mean, not a bad backdrop. I think I might turn my wheel a little bit to grab some photos. But anyways, I'm gonna start making dinner and then go from there, probably call it a night afterwards. But see you guys in the morning. I'm gonna eat this and then see you guys tomorrow. So I started a poll not too long ago about what you guys wanted to see next in some future videos, and I think one of the most selected option was a FAQ style video of how I kind of got into all of this, how I got into photography, overlanding, just doing this whole camping as well as like YouTube and stuff. I think I have some downtime where I can answer one of those questions, or at least the most asked questions. And if you guys want to skip ahead, this is probably going to take a while, but one of the most asked question is, how did I get into all of this? And the answer to that kind of starts back to when I first moved here to Washington. I went to school, I did software engineering, went out, got a job. And at the time, I was really wanting to live that city life. And I kind of found out real quick that that lifestyle was not for me. Everything was just so cramped. I lived in downtown Seattle at the time. I live next to Seattle U, so just like off 10th Avenue. But anyways, it was just so noisy too. So I went out. I started moving down south a lot more. And as time went by, I would go out every weekend to just go hiking, kind of get away from everything. And that's when I picked up my first camera. I bought a Sony A6600. So I started to go off on these like hikes and started taking photos of all the unique landscape here in the Pacific Northwest, which is kind of how I got into photography. There's just so much like landscape, vast landscape and unique landscapes here. So like waterfall, mountains, lakes, alpine lakes, all the national parks, like they got everything around this area. So it was really easy to get into photography. And I don't think I know anybody that lives here that hasn't dabbled into photography just a little bit. Anyways, fast forward, the pandemic happened, so we all had to stay inside. We all had a curfew, at least in Washington it did. It was more towards like downtown Seattle. It made everyone want to go outside, including me. And when everything was uplifted, I started to really, really not take the outdoors for granted. And so I started to go out every weekend, started to explore. I would just spend my weeks just on Google Maps searching for like waterfalls, searching for hikes, seeing if they're doable. And I would just plan it out like in an itinerary style like day. So for an example, if I was going to head out to the Olympics, I would do all the hikes out in the Olympics, go around the coast and then come back and see how long that would take. Generally, I would plan this out so I would have to come back, drive home, come back, and then go back out again. And as you can tell, that wasn't as sustainable as you would like. So I started to do more car camping, and I started to go out, see if I can find a rest stop, see if I can find any like parking lots I can sleep in. At the time I had a BMW 3 Series, so I wasn't really going to campsites or dispersed campsites and stuff. So my weekends got a little more busier. I would wake up at like 4 or 5 a.m., go out. Let's say one of the weekends I would go out to Bend, Oregon, do Smith Rock, head out into the city, grab lunch and all that stuff, then head down to other waterfalls that's out in the area, and then find like a rest stop, sleep there, wake up and repeat, and then come back home. After doing that for a while, I realized that I could either stick to the BMW or get something a little more efficient for that kind of lifestyle. So I was kind of looking around for vehicles that is like 4-wheel drive, preferably something that was a SUV or a truck, anything that kind of can take me anywhere and be comfortable in. So I found, so I landed on the Jeep Gladiator. As you can tell, I didn't buy a Jeep Gladiator. It checked all the boxes. I was looking at a GFC that was going to mount to it. It was going to be great. I started asking around for second opinions, and everybody I talked to outside of like a handful of people said, do not get a Jeep, especially not the Gladiator. It was like 2020, 2021. They said the Gladiators are not very reliable. I don't know if they made them reliable now, but a lot of my friends was like, dude, I've had 2 Jeeps in the past and none of them made it over 100,000 miles. And they all bought Toyotas instead. So 4Runner was not like a option that I was not going to go with. Like, it was definitely on the list. It was like a Tacoma, Gladiator, 4Runner, stuff like that. Anyways, I landed on the 4Runner. It also checked all the boxes. It was an SUV, 4-wheel drive. The aftermarket market to it was insane. There was a lot of companies that built stuff for the 4Runners. It was a great option. I have no complaints besides the gas mileage and how much power it has. Fast forward, got the 4Runner, started taking out camping to do the exact same thing, go out every weekend. This time was a little different because I had a vehicle that find dispersed camping rather than go to like a campsite or just at like a Walmart parking lot or something, which I found out you can't really sleep in anymore. I used to sleep in Walmart parking lots a lot. That happened. So I started to explore a lot more like dispersed camping, and additional to my crazy hectic weekend of finding hiking trails to do and planning all this out, I now am just planning out dispersed campsites. I kind of have been doing that for the last like year, 2 years, until somebody kind of told me, it was like, did you go to a lot of cool places? You should kind of document your journey while you do it. And so it took me kind of a while to actually start doing that. In fact, I started doing all of this within the last like year or two. But yeah, somebody was like, dude, you go to a lot of cool places. Your whole lifestyle is insane. You should probably pick up YouTube and start documenting your journeys. So that's kind of like my whole backstory. So I went from photographing landscapes, building out itinerary trips throughout the weekend, and then now, as of kind of recently, finding campsites so I can do that all over again rather than staying at like a parking lot like Cabela's or Walmart or something. And that's kind of what I've been doing. So if you've watched my previous videos, you'll see me, if I'm not at any dispersed campsites like where I'm at now, probably sleeping off like the side of the road or something. I did that pretty notorious on the Oregon coast because there's not a whole lot of campsites along the Oregon coast, at least not dispersed campsites. So yeah, I just been doing that for the past, like I said, maybe year and a half. For example, like today, this is the dispersed camping section, and then I'm off to photographing waterfalls. So I kind of want to stick to that guideline going forward, is finding things to do around the area of where I'm going to go. If I'm going out to, let's say, Mount Rainier, I'm going to do all the hikes at Mount Rainier. At the end of the day, go camp, wake up, do it all over again. I know it's a lot and a really long answer, but that's kind of how I got into camping, photography, overlanding, stuff like that. It is snowing pretty hard, which is really cool because I think it makes for really great photos. Okay, well, I'm gonna head on out.